Smellification. Smellification. What is that? We all have it. It is the ability to smell out fabulous baked goods. Cookies, bread, rolls. Smellification. The lady in my story that I'm about to tell has smellification. But we'll see how it gets her in a tiny bit of trouble. Maria and the Stingy Baker. There was once a lovely young lady who lived in a village near the largest river in Peru. Maria loved the village that she lived in, and all of the people who lived in it. Well, most of them. True, she was poor as a church mouse. She made no money as the local washwoman, but she was rich in so many other different ways. All of her wash clients paid her in delicious food. We're talking goat's milk, freshly laid eggs, vegetables from the garden, and every once in a while, a freshly plucked chicken. A freshly plucked chicken. And let me tell you about the most amazing room that she had. It was comfy, it was cozy, and it was right next to the baker's house. Every morning, while Maria was either hanging up the wash or taking down the wash, oh, when the wind blew, all of the baked goods that were sitting out cooling on the baker's windowsill, the rolls, the bread, oh, that smell came blowing in, and that's where the smellification was. And it sent her into a dream, and this is her dream. Oh, she was an elegant queen who was sitting at her dining room table in her extremely large castle, and she was awaiting the freshly baked rolls and jam for her breakfast. But then Maria woke up, and when she did, she would call out, "Baker, I love you for the smell of your freshly baked bread." But the baker was a stingy man, and one day he yelled at Maria, "You enjoy the smell of my bread? You should pay me for the smell of my bread." "Oh, baker, you're such a silly man. I should not have to pay you for the smell of your bread." "Oh, yes, you should. Every morning I get up at the break of day. I mix the flour, I mix the yeast, I mix the butter and the salt, and I stir, and I stir, and I knead that dough until my arms ache. You enjoy the smell of my bread and give me nothing in return. You should pay me 10 pieces of gold every month." Well, as you can imagine, since the baker was yelling, all of the neighbors heard his screaming, and they turned to wagging their tongues. "Did you hear about that? Did you hear that the baker wants Maria to pay for the smell of the bread? Who pays for the smell of bread? Nobody pays for the smell of bread." And all of that chatter spread like wildfire until everyone in the village knew how stingy the baker really was. And everywhere he went, he heard a whisper, or he heard a snicker, or he saw the pointing or the looks, and he knew they were all about him. So he knew everyone was aware that he was stingy. And that made him angry. So he went to the local judge and he lodged a formal complaint against Maria. And he said that he wanted her to pay 10 gold pieces every month for the smell of his bread. Well, the next day, there was a notice placed in the village square. And some of the neighbors told Maria, "Oh my goodness, you've got to go read this notice. It's all about you." Well, Maria went. "You must pay the baker 10 pieces of gold per month, and the first payment is due in 3 days. Oh, 3 days? 10 pieces of gold? 10 pieces of gold was a lot. She didn't even have 1 piece of gold. All of her people paid her in food. 1 piece of gold meant that she would have to work for an entire year. Who had that kind of money? So the wave of fear just came over her, but she composed herself. And she delivered the wash to the lady, the beautiful old lady on the top of the hill. And she said, "Maria, outstretch your hand." And she laid 1 gold piece in Maria's hand. Maria thanked that old lady, and she said, "I will pay you back." And each and every client she went to that day, whether she dropped off, whether she picked up, they each gave her a gold piece. And her promise was the same, to pay them back. And the next day, it happened the same. Until on the 3rd day, when she was meant to appear in court, she had 10 gold pieces. And she had the most beautiful shawl that she had created. And she tied those gold pieces very safely and securely in the corner of the scarf. And she stood up tall, and she walked with confidence to the courtroom. There was the stingy baker standing right next to her. "This court is now in session. Baker, would you kindly state your complaint?" "Every morning I get up at the crack of cock-a-doodle-doo, and I mix the flour, I mix the yeast, I mix the salt, I mix the butter, and I stir, and I stir, and I knead that bread until my arms ache. Maria enjoys the smell of my freshly baked bread, but she gives me nothing in return. I feel she should owe me 10 gold coins per month." "Thank you, Baker. Maria, I have a few questions. Is it true that you do smell the baker's bread every day?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Maria, is it true that you enjoy the smell of the baker's bread every day?" Yes, I do, Your Honor." "Do you have the 10 gold pieces that you were asked to bring to this courtroom today?" I do, Your Honor." "But, Your Honor, seriously, I should not have to pay for the smell of the baker's bread. If I ate it, I understand, but..." "Maria, I will make my judgment a little bit later on. But first, I would like you to shake the 10 gold coins." "Yes, Your Honor." "Thank you. The case is going to be decided on in 15 minutes. The court is recessed." Well, everyone dispersed. This person went to this corner. "What do you think? Maria the baker, what's going to happen?" people went to this corner. Oh my goodness, can you believe it would rule in the baker's favor? Maria stood there, and she watched that baker in the middle of the square going, what? Just no. I know that judge is going to rule in my favor. I can feel those 10 gold coins in my grasp. I won't have to work so hard. Well, of course, the court was reconvened. And the judge said, Baker, you have known that Maria has enjoyed the smell of your bread. Now, you have heard the money that Maria has just jingled. I do feel that the two of these actually cancel each other out. And I feel that this case should be dismissed. And it was. Maria and the Stingy Baker. Thank you, everyone.